Welcome to Learn English Podcast. What you didn't know about Kim Jong Un. Learn English through story. Hello everyone. Whether you're just starting to learn English or you're looking to improve your speaking skills, you've come to the right place. Before we start this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel to get daily videos. And I don't want you to miss any of our lessons today. I have a story that will shock you. This is perfect for your English listening and reading practice, and trust me, you will be shocked by what you hear. In today's world, there are leaders who rule with democracy, and then there are dictators, ruthless rulers who control everything in their country. One such leader is Kim Jong Un, the supreme leader of North Korea. Some people call him the most dangerous man in the world. Others see him as a mystery. But who is he? Where did he come from? How did he become the ruler of one of the most secretive countries in the world? And what shocking truths are hidden behind his rise to power? Today I will tell you his entire story, from the very beginning, since the day he was born. And let me warn you, his life is not what you expect. The shocking life of a dictator. Kim Jong-un was born on January 8, 1984. But here's the first mystery. North Korea never confirmed his exact birth year. Some reports say he was born in 1983, while others claim it was 1984. Why? Because in North Korea, everything about the leader is kept secret. Kim Jong Un was born in Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, but some sources say he might have even been born in Switzerland. Why would a North Korean dictator be born in Europe? This is where things start to get strange. His father was Kim Jong-il, the previous leader of North Korea, and his grandfather was Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea. So Kim Jong-un was born into a powerful family. But even though he was the son of a dictator, his early life was a complete mystery. Nobody knew about him for many years. The secret childhood. Imagine being a child who was born to rule a country, but nobody even knows you exist. That was Kim Jong-un's childhood. His father, Kim Jong-il, had many children, but he kept Kim Jong-un hidden from the public. Why? Because his father had many wives and lovers. Kim Jong-un's mother, Ko Yong-hoi, was not his father's main wife. She was just a secret lover. So when Kim Jong-un was born, he was not supposed to be the next ruler. His older half-brother, Kim Jong-nam, was the one who was meant to take over. But fate had other plans. As a child, Kim Jong-un lived a life of luxury. While most people in North Korea were suffering from poverty, hunger, and strict government control, he had everything: toys from Europe, video games, expensive food, and private tutors. But even though he had everything, his life was far from normal. His father was obsessed with control. Kim Jong-un and his siblings were not allowed to have friends. They were not allowed to meet outsiders. Everything in their lives was controlled by their father's powerful guards. But here's the shocking part. Kim Jong-un was not raised in North Korea. Instead, he was sent to Switzerland for his education. From 1996 to 2001, Kim Jong-un lived in Bern, Switzerland, under a fake name. He was registered as the son of a North Korean diplomat, and nobody knew he was the future dictator of North Korea. But how was his life there? Surprisingly normal. He went to school just like any other child. He loved basketball and was a huge fan of the NBA, especially Michael Jordan. He enjoyed playing video games, and was obsessed with action movies. He ate cheese, pizza, and hamburgers, things that regular North Koreans could never dream of eating. In Switzerland, Kim Jong Un enjoyed smoking, drinking, and partying. He had many girlfriends, but one day he did something shocking. He gave the order to have one of them killed. Why? Because she was a singer who was accused of making a video that he didn't like. In his world, even small mistakes could be deadly. But here's where it gets interesting. Even though he was studying in one of the freest countries in the world, Kim Jong-un was not a bright student. He was lazy, uninterested in studies, and often misbehaved. Teachers said he was bad at math and science, but loved art and sports. But the biggest problem? He didn't like Switzerland. Even though he had access to freedom, he still admired his father's dictatorship. He would draw military tanks and war scenes in his notebooks. He would tell his friends that he would one day become a great leader. It was clear that even though he was living in the West, his mind was still controlled by North Korean ideology. And then suddenly in 2001 he disappeared. The return to North Korea. At the age of 17, Kim Jong Un was taken back to North Korea. Nobody knows why. Some say his father realized that Kim Jong Un had no interest in democracy and was the perfect successor. Others say that Kim Jong-il had already decided to make him the next ruler. But one thing is clear. Kim Jong-un was transformed. He was forced to train under military generals. He had to study North Korean history and politics day and night. He was taught how to speak like a leader, command an army, and show no emotions. Slowly, the fun-loving boy who once played basketball in Switzerland turned into a dictator in training. But there was a problem. His older brother, Kim Jong-nam, was still the official heir to North Korea. Kim Jong-un was still just the second choice. So how did he become the supreme leader? That is where things get even more shocking. Kim Jong-il, their father, was watching both his sons closely. He wanted a leader who was strong, ruthless, and completely loyal to him. Kim Jong-nam, on the other hand, was the opposite of what his father wanted. Unlike Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-nam loved Western culture. He was interested in computers, movies, and even democracy. In fact, he was so careless that in 2001 he got arrested in Japan while trying to visit Disneyland in Tokyo. This was a huge embarrassment for Kim Jong-il, a future North Korean leader, caught sneaking into Japan for Disneyland. It was unacceptable. Kim Jong-il was furious, and this single mistake changed everything. Kim Jong-nam was banished. His father sent him away and never considered him the heir again. He was sent into exile, living in China and later Malaysia. And this was Kim Jong-un's golden opportunity. Training a future dictator. Once Kim Jong-il decided that Kim Jong-un would be his successor, he made sure his son was trained in cruelty. He was given full control over North Korea's military. He was made to watch public executions to understand fear and power. He was taught that showing mercy was a sign of weakness. And there was one more thing. Kim Jong-il forced the people of North Korea to worship Kim Jong-un, even before he became leader. His face started appearing in government buildings. Songs were written about him. And school children were taught that he was a genius leader. But here's the shocking part. Kim Jong-un was just in his early 20s. He had no real experience in politics or military strategy. Yet his father was preparing him to rule a country with nuclear weapons. Kim Jong-il's health started getting worse. He had multiple strokes and was losing control. The country needed a new leader fast, and Kim Jong Un knew that if he didn't act quickly, he might lose his chance. Then, in 2011, everything changed on me. December 17, 2011, North Korea's supreme leader Kim Jong Un died. But here's where things get strange. His death was announced in a very suspicious way. Official reports said he died from a heart attack while traveling on a train. But some experts believe he was actually poisoned. There were no clear medical reports. The first big change was the end of the slave trade. Countries in Europe and the Americas stopped buying slaves because it became illegal. This was a good thing for human rights, but it suddenly took away the main way many African economies made money from trade. African countries had not built other strong industries because of the focus on the slave trade and militarization. So when the slave trade ended, they had little else to sell to the outside world. Their ability to buy goods and tools they needed from other countries was lost. This caused their economies to collapse in the 19th century. At the same time, Europe was in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. New technology and factories allowed Europe to make goods much faster and cheaper than ever before. This made the economic gap between Europe and Africa much wider. Africa became much less important in world trade. Because Africa seemed weak and poor, many negative ideas and stereotypes about the continent started to spread in Europe. People said Africa had no history or no good governments. These were wrong ideas, but they helped people in other parts of the world see Africa as a place that needed to be controlled or helped from the outside. This weakness and the negative ideas set the stage for the next difficult period in Africa's history. Europe takes over. In the late 19th century, a new big change happened in Africa. Many countries in Europe decided they wanted to take control of land in Africa. This time they wanted to rule it directly. This is often called the scramble for Africa, because European countries quickly tried to get as much land as they could. Why did they do this? Africa had many valuable things like minerals and other natural resources. Europe had grown rich and strong from new machines and factories needing these materials. Also, after many years of problems, Africa was not as strong as before. Europeans saw Africa as weak and easy to take over. For example, the King of Belgium took a large area in Central Africa. This European rule brought many bad things for African people. Poverty became much worse. Europeans took the best land for themselves or for large farms. Africans were forced to very hard on these farms or in mines, often for no money. This was forced labor. Europeans took Africa's wealth, like gold and diamonds, and sent it to Europe. The money Africans paid in taxes did not help them. It helped the European rulers. Europeans also built roads, train lines, and ports, but these were built to move resources from mines or farms to the coast, so they could be shipped to Europe. They did not build good connections between different African cities or regions, so it was hard for Africans to travel or trade within Africa itself. Also, under European rule, Africans were not allowed to be leaders or managers in their own countries. They were not given chances to get good jobs or learn important skills, like running businesses or working as doctors or mechanics. Europeans held all the power. This meant that Africans did not get the training they needed to run their own countries or build strong economies in the future. This lack of opportunity created big problems that would last for a long time. 6. Freedom but still poor. After World War II, many African countries became free. People had high hopes for a good future. They thought freedom would bring wealth and a better life. But the new nations faced difficult problems. Colonial powers. Left quickly. Not many Africans had the skills needed to run a country. They did not have enough teachers, doctors, or engineers. The roads and railways built during colonial times helped take resources out of Africa, but they did not connect cities and towns within the countries. Leaders needed a plan to build their economies. Many chose an idea called African socialism. This plan meant the government would own and control important businesses like mines and farms. The idea was to use the country's money to build factories and create jobs. They also put extra taxes on things from other countries. They hoped people would buy local goods instead. However, this plan did not work as well as hoped. African countries found it hard to sell their goods to each other because of trade rules. It was also hard to sell goods to other continents because they could not compete with big factories in Europe or Asia. Government-controlled businesses were often slow to change. Also, many Africans did not have the education or training for new factory jobs. In the 1950s, only a small number of Africans had gone to secondary school or university. Nature also made things hard. Parts of Africa had long dry periods or harmful insects that hurt farming. Diseases like malaria and others made many people sick. Getting medicine and doctors was difficult and costly for poor people. Leaders chose this plan partly because they had no easy examples to follow at that time. Under colonial rule, Africans did not learn how to run private companies. The old system was controlled by the government. This mix of problems made it hard for Africa to become rich even after gaining freedom. The challenges were very big for the new nations. New problems, bad leaders, and money. After countries became free, they faced new difficulties. Their new governments were not very strong. Many countries had different groups of people inside them. Sometimes leaders used these differences to get votes from just one group. This made countries less united and caused political problems. Some leaders quickly took full control. They stopped other political groups from working. They created one-party rule to keep power. These leaders took state money, which was for the country's development. They gave this money to friends or officials to stay popular. There was little oversight, so corruption grew easily. Foreign companies and governments from rich countries wanted Africa's resources like oil. They paid money to corrupt leaders for easy access. This made leaders and rich people richer, but the money did not help the regular people. This corruption hurt the economies. People saw this and protested, but leaders used force to stop them. Sometimes former colonial countries helped stop protests to protect their resource access. Many changes in power, like coups, happened often in the first 20 years. Africa looked unstable. Few people wanted to invest except to take resources out. The 1980s were very hard, called Africa's lost decade. Roads and railways broke down. Educated people often left Africa for better jobs abroad. Countries that gave money before, like the Soviet Union and Western nations, gave much less. This lack of money made things worse. African leaders needed money. They asked rich countries for help and loans. These countries gave money, but asked for economic changes. For example, they said governments should sell state businesses, but often leaders sold these businesses to friends or family corruptly. The changes did not help the economy much. However, by the late 1980s and early 1990s, people across Africa started protesting again for more freedom. Rich countries then changed how they gave aid. They started helping countries that moved towards democracy. This encouraged more political freedom and elections in Africa. The path was difficult, but countries started making slow steps towards more open government and trying to fix the problems of corruption and instability. This process helped make parts of Africa more stable for business in the early 1990s. Hope for the future. Today, many people in Africa are trying new ways to make their countries better. There is a new focus on good governance. This means leaders are working to be more honest and fight corruption. They also want to help private businesses grow. Young people now have better education than before. This helps them start businesses and find good jobs. African countries are also working together. What? Groups like the African Union help countries cooperate on trade and peace. In the last 20 years, some countries in Africa have had strong economic growth. Their economies are getting bigger quickly. However, Africa still has many problems. Climate change is a big challenge. Many people are still poor and health problems are common. Safety and security are also concerns in some areas, but Africans are finding their own solutions. They are creating new ideas to fix local problems. For example, some scientists found a way to use a harmful plant from Lake Victoria to make food for animals. This shows African innovation. More people are joining the middle class. This means more people have money to buy things. This can help create a strong market inside Africa. When Africans buy from African businesses, it helps those businesses grow. So the future has hope. It will not be easy, and problems are still real, but with better leaders, more educated people and countries working together, Africa is building a better future. The path is difficult, but many people are working hard. What do you think is the most important thing for Africa's future? Even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you for joining me in today. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming lessons. Keep practicing, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Weather with his emotions. that he wrote 1,500 books during his time as a student in Switzerland, that he could drive a car before he was even old enough to walk. These stories might sound ridiculous, but for North Koreans they weren't allowed to question them. Doubting the supreme leader was a crime punishable by death. While Kim Jong Un lived in unimaginable luxury, thousands of people suffered in labor camps that were as horrific as Nazi concentration camps. Entire families, including children, were sent to these camps if one person was suspected of disloyalty. Prisoners were forced to work 16 hours a day with little food. Beatings and executions were a daily reality. Starvation was so extreme that some prisoners resorted to eating rats, insects, or even the flesh of dead prisoners. One defector who managed to escape described how guards forced prisoners to burn the bodies of their dead cellmates and then spread the ashes over fields as fertilizer. The government denies these camps exist, but satellite images and testimonies from survivors prove otherwise. The world knows the truth, but no one dares to stop him. In 2020, Kim Jong Un disappeared from public view for weeks, sparking rumors that he was seriously ill or even dead. Some reports suggested he had heart surgery gone wrong, while others claimed he had a stroke due to his extreme weight gain and unhealthy lifestyle. Then suddenly he reappeared, but he looked different. Some noticed that his face looked thinner, and he moved differently. Some experts believed he was using body doubles to cover up his declining health. Others even suggested that the real Kim Jong Un was dead, and the person we see today is just an impersonator. While these theories remain unconfirmed, they show how much mystery surrounds North Korea's leader. Even the world's most powerful intelligence agencies struggle to know the full truth. This is the dark reality of Kim Jong Un's rule. A man who controls his country through fear, deception, and brutality, all while living in extreme luxury. Kim Jong Un had built an empire of fear, silencing anyone who dared to challenge him. He executed his own family members, forced his people into modern-day slavery, and created a world where no one could question him. But what if I told you that his greatest enemy was not the world outside, but his own country? Is North Korea turning against him? For years, Kim Jong Un controlled information inside North Korea. His people only saw what he wanted them to see. No internet, no social media, no news from the outside world. But something shocking started happening. Small USB drives with foreign movies and music began secretly entering North Korea from China. Young people began watching South Korean dramas, realizing that the outside world was not the terrible place they had been told. Some even secretly listened to international radio stations, risking their lives to hear the truth. Kim Jong Un was furious. He introduced a law that made watching South Korean content punishable by death. But it was too late. A new generation of North Koreans was waking up. They started to see through his lies. They whispered in secret, questioning everything. Could this be the beginning of the end for Kim Jong Un? Kim Jong Un knew he couldn't survive without the military, but here's the shocking truth. Even his own generals don't trust him anymore. He constantly changes his top military officers, fearing that they might overthrow him. Some generals have disappeared without explanation. Were they executed? Sent to labor camps? Nobody knows. In 2021, reports suggested that even high-ranking officials secretly hated him, but they stayed silent out of fear. The biggest danger? If the military ever turns against him, his rule will collapse overnight. And guess what? It might already be happening. For years, rumors have spread that Kim Jong Un uses body doubles to appear in public when he is sick or afraid of assassination. Here's why people believe this. His weight and facial features sometimes change drastically. One day he looks heavier, the next he looks slimmer. In some appearances, his ears and teeth look different, as if another person is pretending to be him. Experts believe he has at least 2 or 3 lookalikes trained to act like him. If true, this means we may not even be seeing the real Kim Jong Un anymore. So where is he? Is he hiding? Is he already dead? Despite his strong image, Kim Jong Un is actually extremely unhealthy. His weight has become a major problem. Some experts say he weighs over 140 kilograms, 310 pounds, and struggles with heart disease. He suffers from severe gout, a painful condition caused by his rich diet of cheese, alcohol, and fatty foods. If Kim Jong Un dies or is overthrown, who takes power? His sister, Kim Yo-jong, is the most feared woman in North Korea. She is just as ruthless as him, maybe even worse. Some believe she is already controlling things behind the scenes. The military might try to take control, but that could lead to chaos and even a civil war. China and the US might get involved, leading to an international crisis. The scariest possibility? If North Korea collapses, millions of people who have lived under a dictatorship will suddenly be free, but without food, money, or resources. It could lead to one of the worst humanitarian crises in history. For now, Kim Jong Un remains in power, but history has shown that no dictator lasts forever. Some believe he will die from his health problems. Others think he will be betrayed by his own people. And some believe that one day North Korea will rise up and remove him. What do you think? Will Kim Jong Un stay in power, or is his end coming sooner than we think? If you want to know how people live under Kim Jong Un's dictatorship and more shocking truths about North Korea, I already uploaded a video on that. Watch it. It's perfect for your English. This is the shocking, unbelievable story of Kim Jong Un, a leader who built his empire on fear, but now faces the greatest danger of all, his own people. Thank you for joining me in today. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming lessons. Keep practicing, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next lesson.